So around a month ago, a new horror game was announced where you play as a night zookeeper patrolling a zoo. But throughout the night, you find some animals have mutated into monsters. This game is called Zoocosis, and it looks like it will be a pretty fun game. But while watching the trailer, I just couldn't help but remember a really creepy horror manga called Jinmen. Jinmen is a series about humanoid and disturbing zoo animals taking over the world as the main characters try to find a way to survive. The manga is very gory and has a lot of shock factor, but eventually it does get into a little bit of some lore. The big problem of this series is that it's really hard to find in English since there's no real official translation. So the only way to really read this series is through fan translations. So even though only 44 out of the 146 chapters are translated, I still want to jump into this rabbit hole and explore the disturbing story of Jinmen. Now, originally I wrote that intro before reading the entire 44 chapters, and now that I finished this series, I can finally release some of my frustrations in this video.
But if you guys want to see more anime content like this one, then why not go down and hit that subscribe button.
And I'm running a poll for you guys to vote on the next anime I should talk about. I'll be giving my 100% honest thoughts, deep analysis on your favorite series in the next video essay. The poll will be running until April 22nd, so go down in the description below and get to voting. So first off, the beginning of the series was really good. The main character, Masato, is an animal lover that has been going to the Fuji Safari Zoo since he was in kindergarten, until he had to move away for 7 years. When he returned for high school, he also returned to the zoo and reunited with a zookeeper named Nakata, a girl classmate named Hitomi, and an elephant named Hayano. A virus goes around the next day that starts mutating the animals and giving them humanoid faces. One of those animals was Masato's friend Hayano, who attacks them later on. The zoo animals eventually get loose and spread to the town, spreading the virus to other animals like dogs and mice. A major part of this series and what makes it so interesting is its use of horror, specifically its gore, body horror, and mutated monsters. The extremely detailed look for the animals is super creepy. The disturbing nature of the art is what draws not just me but most readers in. Just a look at some of these panels will get anyone interested in seeing more. And when I mean this series is gory, I mean really gory. I sometimes wonder if I could even show some of these panels on YouTube. But the rest of the artwork is also pretty good. The character designs and settings are all drawn really well, but artwork and scary monsters can't save an entire series. It continues with the three main characters exploring and trying to survive the onslaught of mutated monsters running rampant on the town. But the humanoid creatures are starting to get smarter. They're reading books, using hunting tactics, and even starting to speak. Later on, the whole world got a video sent to their phones. A humanoid pig, or Jinmen as he calls them, giving an announcement about his plan to dominate the human race and create his own animal kingdom. So the rest of the story is the three main characters and Yusumi, who gets introduced in Volume 2, exploring towns, gathering resources, and heading to a special defense force base looking for a way to escape the island. While we talked about the subgenre of gore and body horror, this series' main genre of horror is really survival horror. Mainly used in video games, the key point is to find a way to survive and escape horrific and violent environments, mostly seen in zombie movies or death game series. Some of my favorite series under this genre include Signal 100 and Doubt, where they use mystery, problem solving, and suspense to not only scare the reader but also shock them. When it comes to Jinmen, the survival aspect is like a combination of the two. They're exploring but they're also trying to escape at the same time. While the beginnings and endings of each volume are filled with story, lore, and some backstory to Masato, the middle parts of each volume seems to be sort of filler. I say that because I can shorten each chapter into a couple words without really affecting the main story as a whole. But it's not boring. The filler is actually fun to read and you get to see everything going around in town. These chapters also contain a lot of character development and build relationships between the main cast, so I say it's definitely worth the read. However, once it gets to volume 3, it really fumbles the ball. It starts adding really weird and unnecessary concepts to the story. First, it introduces the concept of the zookeepers and Nakata being spies for the Jinmen, which I kinda understand, but it also begins to play with the idea that Masato is not human, and the only reason he likes hanging out with animals is because he's one of the Jinmens, which is a really weird plot twist and a very unnecessary reason for him to like hanging out with zoo animals. It was hinted at throughout the series with him understanding animals, but still, in the beginning, he was getting bullied for liking animals, so he couldn't build a relationship with people. That's all the reasoning you need. The thing that really ruined the series for me was the inclusion of the Jinmens. So they introduced a drug that can turn humans into beasts for a limited amount of time. I thought it didn't have any purpose to this series, and the fact that it gave a little edge to fighting the Jinmens kinda ruined a bit of the horror for the survival aspect. It's like playing Outlast or Amnesia and they decided to give you guns and weapons in the middle of the game. Not only that, but the detailed artwork that carried the series so far became unreadable towards the end of the volume. So far in the story, their main objective have just been to escape the island through the self-defense base. But after the planned base didn't work out, they had no direction for the entire third volume. Until the beginning of volume 4, when the death of the elephant Hanayo led them to a new goal of finding a cure to the Jinmen. But they meet the classmate that bullied Masato as a kid. Throughout the volume, they start to bond until at the end he gets murdered by a bear. But then the story just ends in a cliffhanger where Masato and the gang reach the safari and they get attacked by humans that were experimented on. It's been since August since the latest chapter was translated and released. The series ended in Japan back in 2019, and since I don't know Japanese, we won't really get to know the true ending. However, fans of the series on Reddit were able to translate the ending, and thankfully I was able to find the pages in Japanese to show you guys. So after the cliffhanger, they enter the lab to discover that Masato is a homunculus that can understand and lead animals, and that there's fountains around the area that when activated can release the cure to the Jinmens. One of the fountains is on top of Mount Fuji where Masato's father is waiting. We learn that his father is a researcher that started the experiment with Masato. He explains that the director of the zoo was a pig that was turned into a human from the Jinmen project and wanted revenge on the humans that experimented on pigs and other animals. We also see that the director had a bunch of bird Jinmens ready to send to the world and spread the virus. The world sent an army to destroy the island and kill all the bird Jinmens. While the main cast was trying to escape the island by helicopter, the birds started to attack them. Masato sacrificed himself to save Hiromi and Nakata by distracting the bird Jinmens away from the helicopter leaving the island. When they land, the president wants to kill them, but they agree to a deal letting them live and not nuking the island. The last scene shows a short time skip where Hitomi is walking and she sees a puppy on the street, when a mouse bites the dog and transforms it into a Jinmen. Overall, even though I couldn't read the whole series, I really liked the beginning and the concept of the whole series. I just thought it overdid everything with the extra weird and just useless material. I love the animal horror aspect of the series. I love the horrific visuals of the animals and the gore. I even scrolled through the Japanese pages of the later chapters just to see the creepy panels. I just wish that the story had a better direction and that the plot twists and characters were just handled better. I hope that the rest of the pages get translated soon, because even though I still didn't really like the story, I still recommend you guys read it for yourselves. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have read Jinmen, I want to know your thoughts on the series in the comments below. But I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.